understand. It's just the nature of the man.
Good morning, everyone. If y'all want to take your seats, that would be lovely. Thank you, Ted, for letting me take your place today. We always like to start by welcoming everybody here. My name is Terry Hibbert Ismert, and my husband and I were here the very first day of Oasis, and we are very lucky to still be members of this community and very proud to be here. I'm on the board, and I'm also a member of the care team, and the care team is set up if anybody needs any special care, either something really positive or if there's a death or anything that you might need extra attention for, let us know. Somebody's going in the hospital or whatever, or dealing with something, let us know, because we would be more than happy to extend some Oasis love. Anyway, so I like to start out with one of our values. One of my favorites is human hands solve human problems. And I really do believe that we really need to do the things ourselves. So, here we go. Our musical guest today is Brightwire, and they've been here many times, and we're thrilled they're here today. They are a folk rock band hailing from Southeast Texas, combining elements of folk, rock, country, punk, and whatever else they happen to get interested in. They weave tales of lives lived in our world today. For them, music is about inclusion and letting others know they are not alone in their struggles. Their last single, Better Off Gone, was named to multiple end-of-the-year lists in 2022. And I would also like to thank Will and the people who have organized this blood drive. Once again, human hands solve human problems, and our members are donating blood here today behind the red screen. So, without any further ado, Brightwire.
Once my dreams burned like embers, but at first man pleased everyone else. Them both days spent trying to remember exactly when it was I gave up on myself. These days I'm like one after the other, pacing around and wondering if the truth I see Thank y'all very, very much. You ready?
Yes. Sally crushes bills with her boot heels on. Never been the same with her old man gone. Holly is the silhouette prancing on the lawn all night. Yeah, Tuesday was a buzz, tomorrow will be something sorted in her diary. Scratching pain and calligraphy, she cried. It's another day gone by, trading the water for wine. And you don't know why, drag your tears through the sunshine. Shutters on the window make an awful sound. She's got us to think with the wind blowing round. Everybody in this town knows lonely is a verb, but sorrow is a state. Forgotten are the words written too late. Tattoos of love, they just lie. It's another day gone by, trading the water for wine. And you don't know why, you drag your tears through the sunshine. Project the slides from the days of old, they flow through her mind like fools go. But it's the only thing she has to treat. It's another day gone by, trading the water for wine. And you don't know why, you drag your tears through the sunshine. Yeah, you don't know why, you drag your tears through the sunshine.
Thank y'all very much.
Thank you so much, Brightwire. And we are going to hear two more songs towards the end of our presentation after Gordon Quan has spoken, and then again right at the end. So we're very excited. So for those of you that know how this goes, Mr. Quan's going to come up and give us a talk. Then we're going to take a break, have some coffee while we think about questions we might want to ask. If you're shy, can't imagine that, but I know we have our introverts out here, including me. You can write your question here, and the moderator will read it for you, okay, if you just don't feel comfortable saying it out loud. I'm going to make, anyway, when I found out Gordon Quan was coming to talk today, I was so excited because I have known Gordon Quan for years. As a parent at Springwoods High School, his daughter Caroline went there. As his work on the city council, his support of everything at Springwoods High School. And I just wanted to tell y'all one thing. He proposed a proclamation for Springwoods High School Day of Theater back in 2003. And so we got the word that we were having the Day of Theater, and the whole cast got on a bus, and we came, and we sang One Day More in front of the entire city council. It was so exciting. Anise Parker was standing here, Gordon Quan was standing here, the mayor was there, and then they said to me, Access Houston was projecting this. They go, "Do you want to say a few words?" And I was like, worked hard. It was great kids. And then it was terrible. And Gordon, I feel his tap on my shoulder, and he says, I've got a few words to say. And I was like, thank you. So I moved out of the way, and he beautifully, number one, pulled me out of the hole I had dug for myself, but number two, eloquently talked about the work that the students had done and about how the fundraising, the this, the that, and the very exciting thing that we had done. And I thought about that as I was thinking about introducing him. He understands community, he understands our city, he understands what we need, and he works for everybody. And so we are very lucky to have him today. And I'm very thrilled you're here, Gordon. So give it up for Gordon Quan. Anyway.
Okay, everybody can hear me? Great. Well, thank you for inviting me. Lou, I had spoken to a group, and Lou was there, and he said, hey, do you mind coming out and speaking to Oasis? And he picked this date, and initially I thought, it's an okay date, and it turns out that I was supposed to be in Washington this week, and I thought, oh, I don't know if I'm going to make it back. But I'm so glad I was able to make it back yesterday, and kind of with some of the most recent information about what's going on in the immigration front, at least from the immigration side of view, what they're doing. But this is such a controversial area. I thought I'd kind of give you a little test on what you think about immigration. I believe everybody got a copy of this questionnaire. If not, you didn't, okay. Who was the guy who was giving them out? Somebody dropped the ball. No. Okay, there they are. There's more. I thought I'd like interaction. I know we have a question and answer period later on, but by the same token, I want everybody's opinion as we go through this. I titled it Myths and Truths and Myths about Immigration, and so let's take it from the top. This isn't easy. We as Americans are not ambivalent nor conflicted toward immigrants and immigration policy. True or false? False, okay. I think we have a lot of opinions on this subject. I don't think people are shy about it. And I think it's very confusing to many people because you hear things like invading. There's immigrants are invading the country. They're tearing down our culture. There's a browning of America. There's a replacement theory. And but then at the same time you hear things like, isn't it wonderful that we're the most diverse city in the country? And isn't it wonderful that we have these different people who are bringing skills and jobs here to Houston and investing in our economy? And you're like, hey, like, what's the story here? Is it good or bad? So let's kind of spend some time today kind of looking at some of the myths and what the reality is. Okay. The majority of legal immigrants come to the country each year do so based on sponsorship by U.S. companies. True or false? What do you think? True, false. Okay. It's a kind of a trick question, to tell you the truth, because as far as immigrant visas, more come by families. As far as employment-based immigrant visas, there's 140,000 a year. That includes the spouses and children of the workers. So really, we only have maybe 80,000 a year that come based on their skills, but then they bring their families. But on the family side, we have a base of over 400,000 plus immediate relatives. So if you marry a citizen, mother or father of a citizen, you can come in based on that. So as far as immigration goes, for permanent residents in the United States, it's more family-based than employment-based. But as far as temporary workers, we do have a number of people coming in on temporary working visas to the United States. So it's, like I said, it's kind of tricky. 3, most of the undocumented in the U.S. enter in an irregular manner or without documentation. True or false? What do you think of this? Is, again, I warn you, it's a little tricky. True, some people say true. Some people say false. Okay, that's why we asked this true, false, because, okay, most undocumented in the United States entered in an irregular manner without document. The undocumented, many times enter without documents. That's, of course, what's called undocumented. But a lot of people come with regular visas as tourists, as students, as temporary workers, and just overstay their time. So it's almost like half and half, really. So a lot of people entered legally, but overstayed and became undocumented at that time. Our southern border is wide open, and all are welcome. That's an easy one. True or false? False. Okay, I think we all agree on that. So you see these stories of all these people coming across the border, and they want to apply for asylum or they want to apply for a benefit, and they're turned away. And you've heard about Title 42, that because of COVID, people have to stay in Mexico and wait to be called. So you may think, what's the story here? What's going on? Okay, in 1980, the United States signed the Refugee Act in a global way with all countries, that we would accept people who are seeking asylum in the United States as long as they're outside of their home country, they fear persecution or have had persecution because of their race, their religion, their political opinion, their national origin, or their membership in a particular social group. So if you had a fight with your neighbor and you don't want to he's threatened to kill you, that's not enough. That's not one of the prospective grounds to come. If you don't have a job and you're hungry, that's not a reason to come either. So we have to make a decision as to, is there really a well-founded fear? Do they qualify under one of these categories? And that's the decision that immigration officers are having to make on the border. Because there's so many people seeking refuge in the United States, a lot of people, they've overwhelmed our capacity. So actually, this last week, I don't know if you noticed, the United States has set up 2 refugee processing centers in Latin America, one in Guatemala, one in Colombia. Now, you may hear these terms, refugee and asylum, and you think, isn't that kind of like the same? Okay, so a refugee is a person who's already met that standard. They're outside of the United States. They've been declared a refugee, and they enter through a normal processing, and we have agencies such as Baker Ripley that sponsor them once they come. Catholic Charities, a number of other agencies. Houston, as a matter of fact, takes in more refugees than any other city. And so that's a positive for us. Asylees are people in the United States already who say, I can't go back. I'm here, please, don't force me out because I would face persecution in my home country. They are entitled to first the asylum office as an affirmative application. Then, if they're denied there, they can go to immigration court and take their case to a judge. Right now we have something of the order of 1.5 million people in court lines trying to seek an immigration benefit, mostly asylum. Houston has grown from 14 immigration judges to now 49 immigration judges. We've gone from one courtroom to like 3 courtrooms, one by the airport, one on Gessner, not too far from here, one downtown. We are a very important player in the immigration process in this country. Number 5, I think. Output in the U.S. economy is higher and grows faster with more immigrants. True or false? True. Okay. I think most of us can agree to that. I know Lou sent me an article that appeared recently that even in red states, they're looking to see how do we get more immigrants here because we don't have enough workers. It's estimated we're 10 million workers short in the United States right now. And yet, we are blocking the border. We don't want people to come in. Chris Tomlinson has written an article in the Chronicle that I thought was very telling. Like, the answer to our problems is the people that we're trying to get rid of. So if we could like figure out a system whereby these people could come in legally and work, then a lot of the problems we have with shortages of workers, inflation could be addressed. The agricultural industry, for one. The average age of a farmer is like 59 years old. So there's a great need for agricultural workers because people, as you can imagine, are leaving the agricultural field. They're moving to the cities. So This is something that we need to be looking at as a country. Number 7, is that where we are? No, number 6, I'm sorry. Those who are in the United States and undocumented can go home and get in line and do it the right way. Now, false, that's right. I wish it were true. Before 1996, if you were here in an undocumented manner, company sponsored you, a relative sponsored, you could go home, be processed, get your green card, and come back. In 96, we came up with this idea. It's like, if you overstay by 6 months in the United States, you have a 3-year bar before you can come back. If you overstay by 10 years, by 1 year, you have a 10-year bar before you can come back. I know, it's like your lifetime. So what has inadvertently happened is that rather than go back and forth, people are now bringing their families here because they're separated from their families. You know, I grew up in the east end of Houston. My dad had a grocery store. Most of our clients were Hispanic. Every Thanksgiving, Christmas, we'd lose a lot of our customers. They'd go back home. Then in this January, they'd come back after the holidays working, and it was like a normal passage, you know. On Fridays, they'd come in with their paychecks. They'd write money orders to send back to their families. Now all that is blocked, and you can't go back and forth. You have to either stay or leave. And so people are opting to stay. And of course they want to be with their families, so they're bringing their wives and kids. So that's where we have this DACA situation. Kids who came in because their parents brought them, and they're stuck here. So yes, the answer is definitely false. 80% of, number 7, 80% of immigrants today come from Asia or Latin America, while in the early 1900s, more than 80% of immigrants came from Europe. True or false? True, okay. And what happened is, and some of you remember this, I'm of an age I kind of remember, Lyndon Johnson and the Great Society. In the 1960s, he changed our immigration law under the Hart-Queller Act, whereby every country would get an equal quota to come to the United States. This was revolutionary, to tell you the truth. Prior to 1943, Chinese were excluded, most of Asians were excluded, Africans were excluded. All these people were deemed not qualified or inferior to come to America. In 1952, the quota for China was added. 105 people could come when China was 1/4 of the world's population. It wasn't until 1965 when the laws were changed and said, you know, all people are kind of equal. Why don't we give every country equal quota to come to the United States? And that's when we began to see this huge diversity of our population. And because the newer immigrants were with these people, they then began sponsoring their relatives. And that's why we see more people from Latin America, more people from Asia coming to the United States now than Europeans who've been here a long time. Number 8, immigrants are much more likely than other workers to work in construction or in the service industry and displace union workers of job opportunities. What do you think? True or false? Kind of tough. Okay, true or false? Okay, so kind of true, kind of false. Okay, what I mean by that is this. They are working in a lot of construction areas. As you know, you go to any construction site, you see a lot of probably Latin workers there. But the union workers, are they being displaced? Actually, the labor unions are asking to open up the quotas to get more people in because they can't find enough people. They've realized now that the future of the unions are recruiting foreign workers to join the union movement because their kids, one of my friends who was with the labor union when I was on city council, he said, yeah, I went to a union hall and asked the guys, how many of your kids want to be union workers in the future? Nobody raised their hand. I mean, they're like, okay, we're going to college, we're getting a degree, we're going off. So who's going to replace these people? And that's these foreign workers. Okay, we're now down to 9. 3/4 of the foreign-born population in the U.S. are naturalized U.S. citizens or resident or authorized residents. True or false? True. Yes. So a lot of people look at people and say, hey, you look kind of foreign. I don't know. Are you here legally or illegally? The reality is most of them are legal. You know, they want to become citizens. So it really galls me now. The Texas legislature with their SB 147 saying Chinese, Iranians, Russians, North Koreans cannot buy property. But who knows who's North Korean or who's Chinese? Or, I mean, if they're legal or illegal. I mean, we've been complaining that it just adds to more prejudice and hate against people. I mean, I think you assume I'm legal. I mean, I guess so. And I am legal. But who knows? You know, you see a guy on the street. How do I know Lou's here legally? Maybe Canadian or maybe somebody from another country. I don't know. And am I prejudiced against him because he might have been born overseas, have relatives from that country? So the reality is most are all legal here. Number 10, the rising number of foreign-born in the U.S. is driven by both immigration flows and low fertility of native-born individuals. Okay, true or false? True. Okay. We have an aging population like most developing countries in the world. Every day, as you know, over 10,000 people turn 65 years of age. We need foreign workers. You know, Angela Merkel received an award from in Europe because when all those Syrian refugees were coming to Europe, to Germany, she had the head of Mercedes-Benz go on TV and say, this is not a bad thing. This is a good thing. We as a German people are aging. If we want to maintain our lifestyle, we need workers coming in. We need to look at this as a blessing. But this is not how Americans are looking at it. We're looking at it as a curse. Like, who are these damn people and why do they want to come here and they're taking our jobs and they're making life worse for us? We got to change that narrative personally. And it's not easy. Honestly, this has been the story of America, whether it was the Italians or the Jews or the Poles or Irish, the Chinese early on. Every generation has said, wait a minute, who are these new people? Are they good for us or not? This is what has made America great in reality. Let's go to number 11. The undocumented do not pay taxes and receive welfare benefits. What do you say, true or false? False. Actually, there was a study out of Rice University that talked about how our economy in Texas would suffer so much if we just deported 1/5 of the undocumented people in the country, in our state. It's estimated that they pay $30.8 billion in taxes, $18.6 billion in the federal government, $12.2 billion to state and local governments. Even though Ken Paxton and others have said, oh, they're a burden on our society, the Dallas Morning News reported the facts are they have not. But in fact, we have a surplus in our treasury because of the contributions of undocumented people. Number 12. Okay, this is a tough one. Build a great, beautiful wall and resolve our immigration problem with Mexico, and Mexico will pay for it. I think we've heard that story for a while, and it hasn't worked so far. I've been down to the border with the Border Patrol, and they said, I think it slows them down by maybe 4 minutes. That's about it, okay? but you know, the Catholic Bishops' Conference has come out and said, we need to look at the overall problem, not just look at building a wall as a solution. Why are people moving? There are more people outside of their home country than ever before in the history of mankind. And the United Nations has said if we can work collaboratively, we can see how developed countries who need workers can use these workers to fill those needs, and it can be beneficial for both. They've also suggested we need to have more guest worker programs. So they come here, not maybe permanently, but to bring their skills and learn, and then go back and develop their home countries. There's a lot to be done, and immigration is just one area that we can work on collectively to see how we can do it in a more humane manner. Now, some of you, and I'll just talk briefly on this, are saying, well, Mr. Quan, I know that on May 11th, Title 42 ends, and aren't we going to be flooded by people coming in at that point in time? So when I was in Washington, that was, of course, the big concern, like, so what are we going to do? Immigration is, like I said, they've set up these 2 posts outside the country, but they're moving more people from different ports of entry to the border to do these interviews that we talked about. But something that I thought was very interesting is how they're using technology to address you and I. How they're looking at systems that can move people through the lines legally so that the Border Patrol doesn't, or the people at Customs and Border Protection don't need to spend so much time like checking to see, is Lou really a citizen? Does he have the right to? And using more technology in advanced ways and signing people up for these different programs they have. They've moved 7 million people through the system last year, a record number of people coming in and out of the United States. So we can expect more and more of this. So while people may say, hey, the Biden administration is doing nothing, they're well aware that there's going to be problems on the border and how they're going to address the people who still want to come. All right. I think we take our break at this point and have some coffee and music, and then we'll come back with questions. Okay. Thank you.
her she brought the money.
what we're going to do right now is a few announcements. So I want everybody to sit down. I'll use my teacher voice. Everybody, please sit down. Thank you. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good job. We do that in theater, of course. And so Will's going to come up and tell us a little bit about Secular Week of Action. I want to remind you to look on Meetup because there's a lot of events happening this week, and also check in the back. They have a list for that. And that Project Cure is Saturday from 12:30. Abhishek wanted me to remember that. So here's our board member, Will Judy.
Hey, I won't be long. So Secular Week of Action started today. It started yesterday, but our first event was today with the blood donation back there. The response has been crazy wonderful. Like my cold atheist heart is like warming up a little bit. This is so great, and I'm seeing all of y'all, some new faces, and y'all are showing up in force. So this is terrific. Starting off with the bang with the blood donation, we're about to shut it down only because we have to be out of here at a certain time, and it takes them time to break down. So we're going to try to do this 2, maybe 3 times a year. So stay tuned. Like Terry said, we have a bunch of options for you for Secular Week of Action. We have an art sale on Tuesday. We have a voter registration table / kit assembly for Houston Area Women's Center on Thursday. We have Project Cure on Saturday. And we have a cleanup out here on Sunday here at Baker Ripley. Just go out and clean up. So the details are all on our Meetup pages and our Facebook pages. It's all out there. Plug in to the pages and stay tuned for more events. But starting off terrific. Thank you again from the bottom of my cold atheist heart. Thank you.
All right, it grew 3 sizes today. All right, so we're going to get back to our song, please, and then we'll hear from Gordon. Thanks.
Thank you all very much.
All right, real quick, does anyone here like podcasts at all? We have a podcast we started doing. We have stickers back there. We interview a lot of independent musicians and things like that. It's called Music in the Minor Leagues. We figure y'all seem like people who might be interested. Y'all support independent music quite a bit here, so.
We appreciate that. Yeah, but the stickers are in the back with our merch kit. You can come see me afterwards. We're going to do a little song about, I like to joke, this song's about how tough I am. I've been having a little trouble with my voice the last 2 months, and I found out I had thyroid cancer about 4 weeks ago, had it out. I'm right back. 8 days later, we went on the road. So I guess I am pretty tough.
Tough little person.
Thank you. So this song's called Tough as Nails.
Myself but inside I'm just so confused. Never needed anybody else. Now I'm not some toy left to gather dust on some shelf. No, I'll be fine all by myself. Yes, I will, all by myself.
All by myself.
All by myself.
All by myself.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, and you sound wonderful. I just wanted to make a comment that we are all from immigrant stock, one way or another. Just so we need to remember that when the crazies are screaming about no more immigrants, because none of us would be here if somebody in our family, unless you are native to this, a Native American, of course, or native person to this country. But remember that when we listen and talk and think about the immigration situation. I know my grandparents came over on the Lusitania in 1913, and Ken's great-grandparents came through Ellis Island many, many, many years ago. I don't know when. But just remember that. We all have wonderful lives here, and we're all very lucky to be here together, and to be here together today to listen to Gordon. So if you'll come up, answer questions, be sure to keep your questions brief and to the point.
Okay, ready, Kevin?
No dissertations, because he has a lot to share with us.
And make sure your questions are questions and not comments.
Thank you. And Jake will be doing the moderation. Thanks.
Thanks again, Terry. So oftentimes people say, hey, you know, can't they just do it the right way? I mean, why? My parents came the right way. My grandparents came the right way. Why can't they? So I have this chart here that I want to just show you. So this is the right way, okay? and it's not an easy way. And anytime you see a red, that means sorry, you didn't make it. Okay? There's a few greens along the way where people have made it. Our system is very complex and complicated. We haven't had any major change in quotas since 1990, 33 years ago. And so people from countries like India and China, that right now, they're like, even if you have a national interest waiver, you have a skill that we really need. Your waiting line is about 12 years before your date will come up for immigration. So, you know, it's because of this system that's been antiquated, a lot of people have taken it upon themselves to come to the United States, maybe in the not the best manner, okay? But I'm glad to take your questions at this time, and thank you for sharing your history. You know, let me just say, a confession here. My grandfather came to the United States during the Chinese Exclusion Act. Unfortunate thing happened. It was an earthquake in San Francisco, and he claimed that he was born in San Francisco and his papers got destroyed in the earthquake. Sounds kind of clever, but the records show that every woman of childbearing age, Chinese woman of childbearing age, would have had to have 150 sons if that were true. So it wasn't unique, okay? But so I have a hard time condemning people who take things in their own hands somewhat. But hopefully we have a system that can work. Sorry, let's go.
Yeah. Thank you so much for the talk. You're a great speaker, and I enjoyed it immensely. My wife is an immigrant, and my favorite restaurants are different cultures than the American culture. So I love many things that immigrants are bringing to the country. But there's one thing that isn't brought up frequently, and that is a concern of mine, that our economy is built on increasing population. And, you know, around my neighborhood, I see trees being chopped down and, you know, apartments being built, and you know, we have all the traffic problems, et cetera. And I think that's something that's not brought up much anymore even, is the issue with an increasing population. And I know that's not exactly what you're talking about, but it is a function of immigration, and I think it something that it does make me wonder how long that's sustainable, you know.
And that's a good question. As far as how do we as a society look at increased populations in a smart manner that do not deteriorate the lifestyle or the earth, for that matter. You know, I'm on a task force with Mayor Turner right now, looking at how do we redo our highway system, and in a manner that we don't cause more congestion. You know, Terry, out there in the Katy Freeway, they expanded that and expanded it more, and for a while there's a little less traffic, but then after a while it's just the same clog it was before. So those are questions of a general concern I have too, and maintain that quality of life and be good stewards of the economy. So back to how do immigrants impact that? You know, I think that we have a pretty large country as far as, you know, other countries. And so I'm looking at, I was just reading an article about different ways to like conserve food, conserve water, and it seems like a lot of the leading scientists are immigrants who have come with different technologies. So I don't have a total solution. I think it's something we all have to work at. I know here in Houston, we are, as you know, the second fastest growing SMSA in America. I think we had 125,000 people move in the last year. And so how do we incorporate that? How do we maintain a lifestyle? And I think that all of us working together on that is something, and I'm happy the mayor has asked me to be a part of it, because I don't want us to just be a city for only the rich people. It has to be a city that encompasses everybody. Think more about that, okay, for that question. Okay.
15, 20 years ago, Bill Gates and some other leaders of the technology industries suggested that we should staple a green card onto every advanced degree in the sciences that we grant. Has any progress been made in that area?
Not at all. As a matter of fact, right now, for that category we call second preference, which is national interest waivers, persons of extraordinary ability, we have a worldwide backlog. So while I talk about India and China, even if you are from England or France, we don't have visas available for you at this point. We have a waiting line. And it just seems counterintuitive that here we want to be this high-tech country. We want to lead the world in technology, but yet we don't have enough visas for those people who want to come and help. I thought it was interesting seeing this story about the growth of China, that the Chinese, I'm forgetting, the Chinese premier who came to Houston had the cowboy hat on. What was his name? Anyway, he said that he wanted Chinese students to come to America to learn. And people said, hey, you know, if they come to America, they're not going to go back to China. He said, if only 5% go back to China, we can build our economy. And I thought it was interesting. Like, we were willing to give up 95% of these scholars for the 5%. And they came back and they built a tremendous economy. How beneficial we are to have these type of people coming to America, and how we need to embrace them more. So, trying to get more visas is a challenge. Like I said, I was in Washington and we had a member of Congress speak. There are solutions. There are plans that could address our concerns, but it's politics. There's a fear that if we let too many people in, some people are going to lose power in this country. And I'm not going to name names, but I think you know who I'm talking about. And so I think we're cutting off our nose to save our face in this situation. I wish we did. No progress. I look at that visa bulletin every month to see how we can get people in to the country in a legal manner. Yes.
Hi, Gordon. You remember me?
Yes, from Canada.
I board opt for you a few times at KPFT.
Yes, that's
and
right.
I noticed that You and Joe still have a show on KPFT every Tuesday, I believe, right?
I do.
I think so.
And I appreciate you saying that, because let me say this. I know when you go to see any doctor or lawyer, they're going to charge you money. Okay, understood. They're going to pay for their time. But sometimes you say, well, I just have one question, or can you like guide me in a certain way? So for the past 14 years, Jose Perez and I have been doing a show on KPFT called Coming to America that you can call in for free. We don't even try to push our name. We don't want you to hire us. We just want to give you some advice. And if you have a question, that concern, I have a little flyer. You can tell your buddies. And they say, because there's so much misinformation out there, we just wanted to be a safe source that you could call and get a straight answer without saying, you need to like call my secretary and make an appointment. No, that's not where we're at about.
I just wanted to ask you, you mentioned a 6-month window and a 1-year window for families that wanted to come and visit a relative, I guess, who had immigrated from another country. And I have a friend from Guatemala. He wants to send me to Guatemala to celebrate his mother's birthday for him. I was so impressed, and I hadn't thought about it, but and this is not only on the United States. He said that in Guatemala, it's very difficult to get a visa to go anywhere. But I just think that's really sad. I wanted to ask you, how long were those windows, how long ago were they terminated for families to have access to come into the United States briefly?
Okay, so let me understand the question again, Mike. Okay, so to get a tourist visa, there's a presumption that everybody wants to stay, and you have to prove you don't want to stay. So there's a section 214B that says it's presumed every non-immigrant wants to stay in the United States. So you have to show your property, your ties, your, you know, a good reason why you'll go back to your home country. If they give you the visa, on a tourist visa, your stay is good for 6 months. You can stay up to 6 months. So that's kind of the situation. As far as families that you just talked about, the 1 year, exactly what did I say? I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry. I think I'm getting old here. Okay. There was a period where we blocked off people coming in during COVID, and so that ended when the Biden administration came in. So let me follow up with you on that. I'm not sure. I said that at the beginning, huh? Okay, was that under? Okay. Okay, let's go to the next question.
Hi. You mentioned the backlog. The backlog.
Yeah, the backlog,
And
okay.
I don't understand what's causing the backlog. Is that just political, or is it not being able to hire enough people to do those jobs? I don't understand it.
There are 3 factors. Under the Trump administration, they laid off like 600 people from the service centers, which caused part of the backlog. The second thing is that immigration, 98% of their funding comes from fees. And so right now they're asking for more fees because the government does not give an allocation to the immigration service. Because of the backlog, they got a one-time boost of like $250 million to help backlog reduction. But that has still not addressed all the backlog problems they have. Right now in Washington, what they're trying to do, and this is one of the smarter things, I think, they're looking at all the offices that they have and seeing what the workloads are. And so like the Jacksonville office, the Memphis office, some of these Harlingen, they don't have the number of people applying like Houston does. So they're sending a lot of cases to other offices so that when officers don't have to interview people, they're able to address those cases. Secondly, what they're doing is that they're waiving interviews on cases where everything seems to be in order. So if you're the parent of a U.S. citizen you can't like fake it. You're either the parent or you're not the parent. So they don't have to interview you as long as your background check comes through and the medical is done and you don't have any contagious disease. So they're trying to implement these things, but they're so far behind that when the Biden administration came in, they were over 3 million cases backlogged, and then they got it down to 1 million, and so there's still like over 400,000 at this time in backlog. So I think they're sincerely trying, but there's been a very large increase in number of applications, and they're trying to combat that. But that's part of the backlog problems that we have. And it's frustrating like heck to our clients and to everybody.
Can
Yes.
the conditions which cause the migration be improved when even the people who are from the Central American countries are saying the government is in with the corruption, you know?
And that's what, they sent the vice president down to Central America to try to work an agreement to how we can invest more money in Central America to try to make it so that people don't have to come back up to the United States to seek safety. It's always been the dream of the United States really to boost those economies so that we don't see the migration of people. But you're right. Who's in charge? Who's sincere in making sure the money goes to the people? I once heard, and I don't want to get into a long answer here, but that U.S. foreign policy really, it benefited us to have people come in illegally and send money back because we knew the money went back to the people who really needed it, as opposed to some foreign government official who pocketed it himself and didn't give it to the people. And that was kind of our way of kind of easing the tension in Latin America. By getting tougher on the border, we're actually making it more difficult for the people there. So that's always been the problem. How do we make sure the money gets to the people who need it?
This is going to be our final question.
Okay.
All right, I got the honor of the final question. Appreciate it. A few years ago, very early on in the Trump years, there was a distinct decrease that we saw in international students, especially from some of the better off countries applying to actually come to the U.S. to obtain higher education. And I was just curious whether that trend has reversed or whether we still see a lot fewer international students coming in compared to maybe 10 years ago.
There was a big drop-off, and they did not welcome a lot of people coming. We're now almost back to normal. That's where we are. If you look at the numbers over the past few years, now during the COVID years, those were unusual years too. And because so many consuls closed down, and that actually comes to part of the backlog issue. 500,000 people did not get visas because they did not process people. So now that they've released those visas and people are processed, then that's caused those people in the United States to get kind of backlogged because visas suddenly came back to current. As far as non-immigrant visas, what they're doing now, if you've had a visa before and you're applying for a revalidation or a new visa, they're now waiving many times the interview because they already have everything in the system. So for new applicants, we are seeing that they are loosening up, but it was taking a long time to even get an appointment at the consul for a long time because each post decided if it was safe for their personnel to be there. So they were just saying that the waiting times for, like in Mexico, were almost, for a tourist visa, almost a year. Now it's down to like 6 months. So, I mean, it was crazy. I have clients who are like, but I need to check on this business. I'm not making appointments and I just can't get a slot. But slowly things are coming back to normal.
Sorry,
Okay.
this will be our final question.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you very
Paige.
much, Jacob. I'm asking a personal question. I have a son who lives in Poland. He specifically moved there to marry his wonderful Polish wife, and they're very happy there. But if things go as poorly as they could in Ukraine, and if Russia invades Poland, does he have any problem moving back here with his wife? And would her widowed mother be able to come with them?
So he should not have problems with his wife. Visas for spouses, unmarried sons, and daughters under 21 are always immediately available. The problem with the mother-in-law is problematic because even though his wife will get her resident visa, permanent resident green card, she cannot sponsor her mother until she becomes a citizen, which would be 3 more years into the future. So unless there's a special rule, like right now we have a thing called Unite for Ukraine, where Ukrainians can get paroled into the United States, she'd have difficulty coming. Okay. Thank you.
Gordon, thank you for all the work you do for our community, and thank you for coming here today to fill us in on everything.
And again, if you have any other questions, please feel free to call in, like Mike said, on Tuesday nights, 6 to 7 p.m., KPFT, 713-526-5738. Anyway, and we're here to take calls and to try to add to the discussion. Okay?
Thank you.
Thanks again.
Thanks again.
Thank you.
Right before we have our final song, I'm going to make an announcement that we do need readers for our $1,000 college scholarship for the Secular Student Alliance. We need people to volunteer to read the essays and rank them, and then we will choose the winners based on the rankings. So if you are interested, contact board@houstonoasis.org, or just tell one of us, and we'd be glad to have you on that committee. We are having lunch at Double Dave's Pizza Works today, 12303 Westheimer, which is 8.4 miles away. It's not really that far. It's just down Westheimer. And like Will said, we have lots of events coming up. And also, if we could have all of our blood donors after our song come up to take a picture by our sign so we can have a picture of you guys to celebrate your donation today, which will help out many people. I think the last thing we're going to do is have our treasurer, Rich, come up to talk, and then we'll go straight into the song.
Hey, folks, thanks for coming. Richard Andrews, the treasurer. Will Judy mentioned earlier the Houston Area Women's Center that we are helping out. If you're one of the people that very generously donated something and wanted it earmarked for the Houston Area Women's Center, please tell me directly, or you can write to me at treasurer@houstonoasis.org, treasurer@houstonoasis.org, or you can speak to me directly, because we want to make sure the money that was, intended for the Houston Area Women's Center actually goes to them. In the back there, we have a little black hat. You're welcome to put some cash in there. We also have modern ways of giving, which are listed on the little poster back there. If you're not able to give to Houston Oasis today, that's perfectly fine. We're just delighted to have you here. Thank you so much.
All right, cool, man. Well, thank everybody for having us here. We always love coming up. We were longtime members of Galveston Bay Oasis, so we like traveling up to the big leagues here. Real quick, we're next Sunday after the meeting here, if you're not doing anything and you'd like a beer, either non-alcoholic or with alcohol, we're playing over at Black Page Brewing, which is right by White Oak Music Hall. It's their grand opening celebration. We're fans of the place. Podcast, we already did, and that's it. This is our last song. Thank y'all. We have stuff for sale if you're interested. Just appreciate y'all having us out, man. It's always good. And on behalf of all the musicians that play here, it's really cool to have a place that supports us. We're able to travel quite a bit off the support from Oasis. It's a song about my hometown. I grew up in Crystal Beach, Texas. Just it's as real as any small town story could ever be.
Heaven now the dirt roads, but they let this one alone. Trailers at dead end,
home. Shrimp boats in oil fields, the only job still around. When the tourists all pack up and forget this little town. When a months bring boredom till the sun shines again, cooking up distraction till the big day ends. Yeah, it's just another small town where the edges get so hard to reach, wasting away on the best years, living out here on this crystal beach. Cough syrup and matchbooks, coffee filter starter spray. Takes a special kind of poison to survive this day to day. At the end of my dirt road, he never gets too high. Sheriff's got big problems, like the runoff fishing line. Mama keeps the children, no, they never want on me. Hide behind a Bible, block the things you shouldn't see. Yeah, it's just another small town where the edges get so hard to reach, wasting away on the best years, living out here on this crystal beach. When a man gets greedy, it's when it all goes wrong. Zig when you should zag, sparking it's all gone. Flames lit the night sky, there's a maker we would have met. March told the children, fell asleep with a cigarette. Yeah, it's just another small town where the edges get so hard to reach, wasting away on the best years, living out here on this crystal beach, wasting away on the best years, living out here on this crystal beach. Thank y'all so very much.
Thank you all very much for coming. And next week, where is the, do they have food there? Could we go there for lunch next week?
They do, yes, they'll have plenty of food trucks and things up for it's a big grand opening celebration, so there'll be all sorts of stuff.
We might want to make that our lunch place next week.
It's not
Anyway,
that far.
Jake, you're on it. Anyway, thank you again. You guys go have a wonderful secular week of action. Do big things, do little things. and have a wonderful time and go out and enjoy your day. Thank you, everybody, for coming.